I'm Daryl with Colonial Gardens, but called over to our community who he just had brain surgery and hip surgery. He has stage 4 lung cancer, brain cancer. So the brain surgery was to remove a mass from his brain. And it also found a spot on his hip. So they removed the spot on his hip as well. They're going to talk about what they're going to do with the stage 4 lung cancer. And he was the caregiver for his mother. And he cared for his mother until he couldn't. He felt the headaches. He felt the pain in his hip. He felt that he was coughing more and, coughing up blood and all these symptoms, but he felt guilty about taking time to go to the doctor and check on himself. Have any of us felt guilty about taking time away from our loved one to do something for us? Take a break, go fishing like we used to, go to the grocery store, heck, go to the bathroom. I'm saying things that have come to me over the last 19 years. People felt guilty leaving their loved one because if they went to the bathroom, shut the door, this is what they heard. What are you doing? What are you doing? Can you come out? I need to see you. Open the door. Can you do this? And I see some people nodding their heads. So I'm sure that folks are relating to this. That is when the caregiver needs a break. So since I was sharing some things and some folks were saying, yeah. How do we cope with that? Do we cope with that? Or do we keep pressing on? No answers are wrong answers, so I'm not trying to set you up.
You just keep pressing on.
You keep pressing on. So let me ask you a question. So what happens if you end up in the hospital?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's why you're here. You're the answer. You're supposed to answer the hard questions, Daryl.
You make me think about it. If you're the person that's doing the caregiving,
Yes, ma'am.
you may or may not have other siblings, or cousins, or whatever, and you have to really think about it. What do you do if something happens to you? And it's scary, really. You don't want to think about it.
You don't want to think about it. So what was said, in case you all didn't hear in internet land, it was said, a lot of times as caregivers, we just keep pressing on. We don't want to think about it. We want to make sure that we're able to be there for our loved one. I'm paraphrasing, of course,
Right.
but we just don't want to think about it. It's scary to think about. So what do we do? So it's like that double-edged sword. We're darned if we do, we're darned if we don't. If we take time for ourselves, what happens if something happens to them? I'm going to feel guilty. Well, how about if you don't take enough time for yourself? And I don't mean to sound like I'm preaching, but I am. Yeah. What happens if you, sorry, it's getting good though. So what happens if you're not taking care of yourself and then you have a fall? What happens? Anybody here, has your loved one ever fallen?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, I did not mean to make this so personal. Okay, and then what do? We try to lift our loved one up. So if we try to lift our loved one up and we're getting tired and frail, if we're getting tired and frail ourselves, now all of a sudden we end up on the ground. A lot of times people come to me and we have, little petite wife and somebody Bill's size that they're taking care of. I'm not picking on you. I'm just using you as a reference point to pick on you. But we have someone big that's being taken care of by somebody shorter. And I've seen too many times the loved one fall, the shorter person go to help them up, the loved one is pretty much dead weight, and then they fall back on the short one, And now both of them are on the ground. Now, who does she help? And now both of them are on the ground. Did I mention that? Am I making my point?
Yeah.
So we're not helping anyone if we're not helping ourselves. So a lot of times we have to take a break. Yes, sir.
I think for anything to do in this world, you have to have a thick skin. When your skin is not thick, you can't do anything in this world, good or bad.
This is just like she was saying, what was just being shared with us is like anything in the world, you have to have a thick skin. You do have to have a thick skin, but here's the thing, as caregivers, we forget to do this. We forget to have a backup plan. Here's what I'm talking about. And this is one of the things, if you're taking notes, you want to give yourself a couple lines here. A backup plan. What happens if I get sick or get hurt? As caregivers, what happens if they get sick or get hurt, they being our loved one? What am I going to do then? Do I worry and stay in the hospital with them the whole time? Or I take that moment as a bit of a respite? They're being cared for by the professionals. I can take a moment to have some coffee at home. I can take a moment to use the restroom without having someone knock on the door. I can take a moment and go to the grocery store and pick up some groceries that I haven't picked up in a while because I was frightened to leave the house and felt guilty for leaving the house. So we have to have our backup plans. Even to the point of what happens if my car doesn't start? If I have to take them to the hospital, to the doctor, what happens if my car doesn't start? So my backup plan is to be proactive, to see one of those days I have someone that can come over and see and take care of my loved one for an hour or so, that I can run my car to get the oil changed, to get the brakes checked, to have the tires checked out. Because that time you need to get them to the doctor is not the day that you're supposed to run out of gas. It's not the day that, like today, where it's rainy outside. For those of you who are joining us from the West Coast, we're having a lot of rain today when you guys are enjoying a nice, warm, sunny day. Not that I'm bitter, but that's not the time for you to run out of gas out here on, because where your tire starts making you, and this is from personal experience here over the last couple of months, you're driving down the road and your tires making your car shimmy. You need time to take care of all these things. God bless you, sir. You need time to take care of all these things. And it is okay to take a moment from your loved one. It is okay to take a moment from your loved one. Yes, sir.
2 points to substantiate the backup plan.
Yes, sir.
This life alert was my family's backup before I went into assisted living.
Mhm.
It did actually help me out one time when I had a fall at home alone.
Excellent.
But they insisted that I have this as protection since I wasn't living with them and I was living alone still.
And it helped out.
It saved me, I guess, one time.
Yes, sir.
The second thing I want to mention is I've been giving verses out lately in my teaching
Mhm.
that Jesus, even as a caregiver for millions of people in his ministry, always had time for himself at night. He went up in the mountains and prayed daily to get the sustenance to go back to the daily grind of ministry.
Yep.
Because he was a type A person, because he didn't sleep much.
Exactly. So what Warren just brought up to us, and 2 great points. One is in regard to a backup plan. It's important to have that backup plan. Warren needs a little additional help at times these days, and his family insisted on him having a life alert, not plugging the name Life Alert, but a life alert around his neck. And he happened to need some help, and he was able to have it and hit it. So it was a perfect backup plan because his family could not be around him 24/7. So that backup plan worked out well. The second thing, and I love this point, is that Jesus even needed time to himself. He needed time to recharge. He would go up into the mountains just to get that time to recharge, to go back to the masses. So we all need that time to ourselves just so we can recharge, so we can be there for our loved one. How many people here believe caregiving? I don't mean caregivers like I have in my building. How many people here believe caregiving is a job?
It's very much of a job.
It's very much of a job. Yes, ma'am. It is a full-time job. Oh, did I mention it's a full-time job that you do not get paid for?
That's right.
As a matter of fact, money goes out. You don't recoup it for caregiving. But as you were saying earlier, you have to keep pressing on because you're not going to say, you'll be okay. We said to have and to hold, or that's our mother, or that's our brother, or that's our cousin, or that's our aunt or uncle. If we take on the job as a caregiver, and so many of us are thrust into this caregiver position, not necessarily planning on it, and not necessarily wanting to. I've had more people in the last couple of weeks come to me and say, in the midst of the discovery period, and they're talking to me and telling me about what's prompting them to come and talk to me, that we had plans. We were supposed to go to Italy. We were supposed to go to Europe. We were supposed to go to the lake and go fishing. We were supposed to just next week go and do this, but 2 years ago, he was diagnosed with dementia. So we have all these plans, but we don't plan for it. That's why today we're talking about caregiving for the caregiver, because we don't plan.
Can I say one more thing, please?
Yes, sir.
I'm in tears right now because I'm thinking about my daughters who love their daddy. And that even though it's a job and it is a heavy responsibility, for them it's a privilege to honor their parents. And I'm honored by that attitude. So attitude is everything.
Attitude is everything. But and even though attitude is everything, I'm going to shut this.
I'm not minimizing anything you're saying.
No, and I'm not taking it as such. But attitude is everything.
Just close it all the way.
They want to hear too.
No, it's not staying shut for some reason. I think it's all those heavy beads on the back.
Weighing it back.
Yeah.
So the attitude is everything. But at times we get tired.
No question.
We get tired. Or we get frustrated. How many times do we have things going on? People don't want to go to the bathroom. People don't want to take a shower. People decide this floor right here is a good spot for the bathroom. And we get frustrated and we say things like, well, you know better than that. Well, if a person has dementia, they probably don't. If the person has cancer and they're in pain, how's this for a double whammy? We have a person in our community, bless her heart, she jokes that she might be pregnant. She's 79, 80, and she's having morning sickness. And her sense of humor is so great, and she's handling this with such grace. She not only has dementia, but she understands what's going on, but she also has cancer. The cancer is, and the pain is causing her to throw up in the neck. So this morning, she was getting ready for breakfast, and she was coming down. She uses a walker as a wheelchair. And she was coming down and she was smiling and talking, and boom, on the floor. She didn't mean to do that. As a matter of fact, she was mortified. And as we're running to get a bucket for her to use, and she's sitting down and she's using the bucket, do you know what this wonderful woman is doing? She's looking up at us who are trying to take care of her, and she's going, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to mess up your floor. It's not her fault. It's not the fault of our loved one that they fall, or that they use the restroom in the floor, or they don't want to use the restroom, or that they swung at you yesterday, or they cussed you out, or whatever the case may be, you fill in the space. It's not their fault. It's the disease. Do we fuss at somebody because they have cancer and they're in pain? So what? But at the same time, it still can be frustrating because now we have to clean up that spot and it's breakfast time. And how am I going to get you to breakfast if you're throwing up? Because I still have 40 other people I'm looking after, but now I got to take you back over here and now I got to clean up the mess, and it can be frustrating. We need time for ourselves to recharge. Fair enough? So how do we do it? What have we done, or what do we do to take that time? Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
And you using my stuff against me. It's like talking to my wife. You said earlier, Daryl. No, don't use my words against me. We're coming to that, but thank you. Oh, heck, you already hit it.
I
Okay.
think you have to plan to have some time, because if you don't plan it as part of your day, you're probably not going to do it. And I've heard other people say this too, and I have found it works for me. Betty is pretty much out of it after sundown. And so after supper, I can go out and watch what I want to on TV and enjoy that. And I can really enjoy it because I record everything I'm going to watch. I don't have to listen to all that stupid pillow talk and everything. But and she's safe. She's in the hospital bed. She can't get up. And so I know she's going to be okay. And once in a while, I'll stop it and go in and talk to her a little bit and say, how you going, and that kind of thing. But that is so much different than during the day when you feel like you're. There used to be two of us taking care of the house. One was a cook, wasn't me. And now I'm everything.
Yes, sir.
And you got so much pressure on you to try to keep things up. But then you finally say, why am I doing all this? Who cares? And
Say that again, please.
who cares?
Thank you.
And then I say, okay, I'm not going to do it. And I have found myself saying that to myself several times when I'm kind of getting uptight about getting something done. And I have to say to myself, who cares? How important really is this? And then it kind of calms me down, because I'm saying, it really isn't that important, is it?
I love that. And I think that's better than anything that I would have said about today. What Bill mentioned was, when it comes down to it, the long and short of it is we get caught up in our daily minutia, in our routine. But when it comes down to it, who cares? Oh, I have to clean the house. I have to get the food made. I have to make the bed. I have to clean up the bathroom because we just made a mess in there after her shower. So it's always, but again, as you've heard me say in the past, when we're a caregiver, it's no longer really about the way it used to be. This is a whole, forgive it if anybody, if you have grandchildren or children that watch Frozen, A Whole New World, or is that Aladdin? Or one of those Disney shows. But this is a whole new world.
Yeah.
And forgive my voice is a little off today. But we're in a whole new world that we've never explored before. And the fact that we used to have an immaculate house doesn't really matter now. If you don't mind, I'm going to use your wife's name. It comes down to, is Betty safe? Is she comfortable? Is she pain-free? Do I have a moment to breathe while she's resting? Now that I have that moment to breathe, You said, I have to plan that time. During the course of the day, we know from 8 o'clock in the morning until 3:30, 5:30, 8:30, whatever the other number happens to be, we know we're going to be busting our butt doing this, 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 and this. However, there is a moment you have to yourself. We have to stop running and worrying about what we used to worry about and think about what can I be doing now instead of going to make my bed. For those of us that were in the military of the past, we had to make sure that the bed was made, that a quarter could pop off of it, or else we were running or we had to eat.
Yeah.
We're not in the service any longer. It doesn't have to be. For those of us that grew up with parents who said, do this, do that, do the other thing, in my case, you need to make sure, and I heard myself saying this to my son, you need to make sure you do these things because you want to make sure you have a wife that's going to keep you, not because you're a slob. Daddy. But those things don't matter if you get that wife and you have her and something happens to her and you need to take care of her. The bed doesn't matter any longer. The fact that, and he doesn't join us anymore, a gentleman from California, and I need to call and check on him. He's a chef. His husband has dementia, was progressing. And now, if you heard, I said he was a chef. And one of the things he used to like to do for his husband would make these grand meals. And for a chef, presentation is everything. Some of you might remember him talking about it. Presentation was everything. Now the man is eating pureed food. Presentation is not as important now because he still had a good appetite. It's just a matter of finding something he's going to eat. Now, he still garnishes his pureed food and his soups because that's him. But when he goes to the grocery store with the limited amount of time he has now, he wasn't going out finding the best parsley and the best to sprinkle and to have the drizzle. It wasn't about that now. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So utilize our time, utilize our resources so that we have that time for something. I was talking to somebody here recently who scheduled a couple of years back a vacation for May-ish. And I applaud them because they're still going to go and they're going to refresh themselves because their loved one, their husband has gone into a new stage and it's becoming a little more challenging. What better time to go on that vacation and refresh so you can get ready for that next stage? Because if we don't, then we start stressing. And I don't know if you guys saw this. I always swear by Lisa's Care Connection, and in their calendar, their March calendar and newsletter this month, they have on page 3, 4 ways to reduce stress. And I'm just going to go over those for you. The first one, learn to say no. How many of us in the old days, before we started caregiving, when someone said, can you do this, can you do that, can you do the other thing, it was always yes, 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 yes. And you were, and you were able to do it because Betty was at the house and could take care of this, or she'd come and do it with you. Well, if you keep saying yes, 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 now all of a sudden you're not taking care of Betty. That's understandable. But now, instead of going out and doing that little extra, if you say no, you have that extra moment for yourself. And we can do something for ourselves.
I've told people that, like when my wife falls asleep during the day,
Yes, sir.
and I said, your brain says, oh, this would be a good time to do this and this and this.
Mhm.
But you might want to just say, I think I'm gonna sit down in my lazy bar chair and read my book. That might be the best thing you can do for yourself.
Exactly. Because you know what? I can hire somebody to come cut the grass. But I can't hire somebody to rest for me. So as Bill was saying, instead of saying I have to do this, 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 and this while his wife is resting, it's time to just say, maybe I need to just sit down and read a book or rest my, or as my father-in-law says, rest my eyes.
Mhm. I do that now and
Or as my dad would say, let the TV watch me.
then.
So now number 2 on this page is using a $40 word. You've heard of a $20 word. This is a $40 word. Ready for this? Practice diaphragmatic breathing. Diaphragmatic. Everybody say that 5 times.
Diaphragm.
Diaphragm.
You're breathing from the diaphragm.
Yeah.
Because now you're forcing yourself to calm down. Because if I were to sit here and curse you out right now, you're gonna get mad. When our loved one curses us out, we're gonna get mad. We're gonna get mad, we're gonna get offended. Our feelings are gonna get hurt. And instead of saying you shouldn't talk that way to me, I'm your husband, you shouldn't talk that way to me. I'm your wife, you shouldn't talk that way to me. Mom, you've never spoken that way before. I'm gonna use your word again. It doesn't matter about your relationship. It doesn't matter what you used to do. You know you could have made it to the bathroom. Why'd you go to the bathroom in the sheets? It doesn't matter. They need to be changed. Quick story. In the building, in our community, a couple of years ago, a wife comes out, her wife was visiting her husband. Husband and I got along fine. He was a businessman. He did business all around the United States. He had his favorite place to go, his favorite manufacturing facility to go was in Philly. His least favorite place to go, sorry folks, was in LA. And he just didn't like the way folks in LA did things. And they had their own way of doing things. And it didn't matter that he just didn't do it A, B, C, D, E. The end result was still Z, but they had their own way of doing things. And so if he ever started to get agitated, he and I would have a conversation about work. And then I'd always bring up California and then compare it to Philly, and it would calm him down. So the wife comes out, and he had progressed in his diagnosis, and the wife came out and she had this little frantic look on her face. And I said, well, what's wrong? He just went to the bathroom on himself. He's soiled. I need to get a caregiver. Or our caregivers were tied up with other residents. I said, I'll help you get him changed. No, Daryl, I'll get a caregiver. What I have to do doesn't matter right now. He needs to get changed. By the time you or I find a caregiver, he could do anything with it. He can paint, he can shave. I'll help. Let's get him cleaned up. So I walk in the room, and remember, he and I had this great relationship for a couple of years. And he saw me and he called me a word that should never be uttered. You think you bring this beep in here, that's gonna make a difference. The wife went, and I went, I just played it off because it doesn't matter. He needed to get changed. What I said took her aback. I said, sir, I appreciate that. Most people don't know what I am. They're confused because I'm so light skinned. And she just was like, looked at me like I had 18 heads, but I didn't get bothered. This man needs to be changed. It took him aback because he said it to upset me. And when it didn't upset me, we got him changed. What is said, what is done does not matter. The end result is care, dignity, and respect.
I do a lot of saying sorry for anything that takes place. I just say, I'm really sorry, sweetie. Maybe, you know me, I'll make mistakes. I'll try a little harder or something like that. And it just calms, it doesn't escalate from there. Just-
It diffuses the situation. It was just mentioned that a lot of times he'll just take the blame himself for whatever happened. I didn't mean it, sometimes I make mistakes. I'm clumsy, I'm this or that. And that does diffuse things. And then even if you do get upset, you can go off and do that diaphragmatic breathing.
There you go.
And then hopefully diffuse yourself. A lot of times what is suggested when you come to Lisa's or you go to some other support group and you start getting feedback on how to handle situations, think about it not only as applying it to those that you're caring for, think about applying it to yourself. Because a lot of times it can be helpful. If all of a sudden we're getting stressed out and we're having trouble eating, or we're starting to find out that we're having issues with our belly, well, they say change the diet for them. Maybe you should change to eat the same thing that they're eating, just to calm your stress level down, to calm your stomach down. If you're still trying to do what you can, but you're telling them to calm down and slow down and take it easy, maybe we should do that for ourselves. It says here to use the 5 senses to calm your emotional brain. And that's where the sheet that is on your desk. I want you to look at that. Now on the front of it, it says sensory spa. And this is something that we do in our community. And it doesn't have to be one room. Some of these therapies you can do for yourself and for your loved one. Aromatherapy. We can burn a candle, burn incense, have those little rings that you put on the light bulbs and put oil in it. You can put a plug in the electrical outlet with a little bit of lavender or eucalyptus. And basically what you're doing is you're making a sensory bath. You're surrounding yourself, instead of with water, with a good scent, which will help with your breathing. And it's been proven to clear your head. Another thing you can do is you can create a sound bath. Now, back in the old days, I say the old days, back in my younger days, I listened to a lot of AC/DC, a lot of Metallica. Go figure, it's true. I loved heavy metal and head rocking stuff. Just did. My parents hated it. I blame it on my brother. So John, if you're out there watching us on YouTube, it's your fault. But don't laugh at me, Warren. It is what it is. But that's not what we need to listen to around our loved ones, or if we're getting frustrated, or if we happen to get a temper every once in a while. We want to have a sound bath of some easy listening. Just calm it down. What we've done is we created a room in our community so that if someone's getting agitated, instead of giving them PRN medication, as needed medication, instead of doing that, we first take them to the sensory spa, to this room. That's where the lights are dim. We have strip lighting, green strip lighting and blue strip lighting. One for focus, for cooling, kind of calming effect. There's aromatherapy in there. There's soft music playing throughout the course of the day. There's a TV on the wall that has, some National Geographic stuff going on. It's all for the calming effect. There's recliners in there with a weighted blanket, because the weighted blanket acts like a big old hug. And so we'll take someone into the sensory spa, seat them in there, and this is everything I'm saying now, you can do at home. We'll take them to the sensory spa, seat them in the recliner. We'll kneel down or sit down in front of them in a little more, not quite as comfortable chair. And we'll just calm the way we're talking and just talk softer, talk a little slower, and change the delivery of what we normally say or how we say it, which tends to calm a person down. And then the aromatherapy and the music, all that comes into play as well. Do you know that about 40% of the PRN meds that we used to give for agitation has been cut out since May? 40%. That's almost 50%. For those of you who aren't good like with math like me, that's almost half. That ain't too shabby.
And I'll bet the other half has been decreased.
Because now
Maybe not cut out.
they're not right.
Cut down.
Those other people, I mean, those other folks that were really doing the agitating of this person, because it all comes down to being a trigger. What is triggering these behaviors? Because remember, we've talked about it before, behavior is communication. But once we remove them from that situation into the sensory spa and they calm down, now all of a sudden, as they were getting upset, they were now triggering the other residents. Well, now they've calmed down as well, which had the reverse effect because they were getting agitated and they were also triggering those people back. So now the cycle is broken. So aromatherapy, you can have just a plug-in in your house, or you plug it in when you, how many people here, for those of our loved ones that do get agitated from time to time, how many of us know it's coming? Whether it's, oh, it's almost 4 o'clock, it's all gonna break loose soon. Or we say something and we go, oop, I shouldn't have said that. And you know they're gonna get upset. Or they wet themselves, they sat in it too long, and you know that's gonna trigger something. For those of us who are running into that and we know it, that's when we go and plug in the plug-in. If we know they used to like tea, warm tea, or warm coffee, and it's a lot of people that we know when their sundowning time is, if we're talking dementia. If in some folks, if we're talking pain with cancer or some other chronic disease, a lot of times those pains are cyclical. So we know about when it's coming, or we see the grimacing on the face. And if we know they like warm tea, we can go have that ready. And we can bring that to them as stuff starts, diffusing stuff before it really takes effect. So sensory, when we're talking about those, utilizing the 5 senses, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Sir.
Not to knock the assisted living place I'm at.
Mhm.
They're very good, and the director is beautiful and loves me and is very cooperative with my requests.
Excellent.
But there's one request that I got pushback on
Mhm.
yesterday. I brought up, it's a new situation. I'm asking you all to pray about it, not to do anything. But I like to do the floor exercises they do. And that's a daily thing at 11 o'clock. Because now they got their TV back, because they had lent me the TV for respite care.
Mhm.
And they got it in the activities veranda where it's near my room, and the rooms are all around there.
Right.
They do, last week they had the Zumba so loud though. I have sensory, very sensitive
right.
ears.
Mhm.
I have a lot of sensitivities, whatever. I used to be the street dancer in town.
And now you're asking them to turn the music down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To negotiate, as you highlighted once before.
Yes.
Does it have to be this loud?
Right.
I know they wanted it loud to promote the activity level. But could you compromise? But they wouldn't flex on that one.
That's something we definitely can pray for you on that one. And then, so what was said is that where he is staying, the activities folks will turn up the TV loud or the music loud for Zumba. And so he happens to be sensitive to loud sounds. Ironically, he used to be the street dancer in his family, but now the music is too loud for him and he's been asking them to turn it down. So when we're talking sensory, you're right, we have to think of both sides of it. And most of the time it's a matter of toning things down as opposed to jacking things up. No pun, Jack, I'm sorry.
And actually, and the louder you make it, the worse your hearing gets.
Mhm.
Everything needs to be, we as people being cared for, or people who are deteriorating, we compensate too strongly
Yes.
instead of tolerating at just a little bit better level. And
You brought up a good point. Now, forgive me for cutting you off, but before I forget it, because you know I
go
will.
ahead, I'm basically.
When it comes down to it, we do tend to overcompensate for things for those that we're caring for, or even for ourselves. And that goes back to having a conversation. If our loved one is able to converse with us, if our loved one still has a little bit of ability to reason or to say what they like or don't like, if you have the ability to understand or to interpret the communication style that they currently have, because not everybody's able to communicate pain or communicate joy by saying, ooh, that's great, or ooh, that's bad. Sometimes it's a facial smile or a grimace, or if a dog's coming by and they turn their body to them, that says, I don't like the dog. So we have to learn to interpret what's being said. So by communicating with somebody, we have to try to understand what's going on and see if we can help them, or help them help us help them. Does that make sense? They're going to try to communicate. I have a gentleman in the building right now. We have someone new. He sees this gentleman and now he's following him because he thinks that this other gentleman who's been there forever, who's a great guy, former Navy sailor, this other gentleman is fixated on him and believes that the other guy's going to do something wrong. So the guy that's walking around, he's a wanderer, so he's always wandering. Well, the new guy is following behind him, literally about as far away as I am to you, Bill. And so this morning, and the new gentleman does kind of understand things at times, and he did seem to be able to understand things this morning. So I went to the Navy sailor and I walked up to him and I took his hand and I was talking to him and just calmly showing that he and I get along fine. I hope you understand he's okay. And so, but his other hand was in a fist because he was agitated by this guy following him. How I know that this was wrong was because the same guy I'm talking about walked into our nurse's office when she and I were having a meeting this morning, and he came in and his way of communicating, which is not verbal, he came in with a smile and he kind of waved at us and he was in a good mood. And then here it is 20 minutes later, this man's following him around and now he's walking around with clenched fists. We have to try to interpret what's going on so that we can help where we can. Because if we can help, if we're able to interpret what's going on and we're able to help an individual diffuse a trigger, guess what happens for us? That trigger doesn't affect us. Because if that trigger continues on, now we have an issue, they have an issue, and it can blow up. How many people here has had your loved one have an outburst? You have an outburst as well. What happens now with the loved one? They have more of an outburst.
It gets worse.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now all of a sudden, we were talking about reducing stressors earlier. We're no longer reducing stressors, we're adding to it. So by being observant helps us as caregivers. I want to hit this fourth thing that they have in the newsletter. This is something that's good because we don't think about this. It says, know your nervous system is out of whack or out of balance, and bring it back. How many of us know that something's wrong with us? We feel it. We're just not. We wake up in the morning, we're going, and I don't mean just a scratchy throat. I mean, something's going on. It might be depression kicking in. It might be, oh, I didn't take my meds yesterday. Yeah, I've told you in the past, I'm a cardiac patient. And so with that is high blood pressure. Ooh, I forgot my high blood pressure medication. So my headache's now splitting we know something's going on. If we can identify it, but a lot of times we don't. We might say, oh, I need to do this. I need to take my meds, but I can't because it's 9 o'clock. And my wife and I always get up in the morning at 9 o'clock. So I need to get her up now, even though she's sleeping soundly and she's safe and she's dry but it's 9 o'clock and we always woke up. I need to wake her up. So I'm not going to take my meds because it's 9 o'clock. What did Bill say earlier? It doesn't matter. Is any of this making any sense? Being a caregiver, being one being cared for by caregivers, it's a job. It's hard. So please, I'm not beating us up for being caregivers and doing the best we can with what we have. I took when my mom, after a week and a half, didn't want to take a shower. Woman, you stink. I didn't say that to her like that. But I finally told her, you need to take a bath. Baby, I don't want to take a bath. You haven't wanted to take a bath in a week and a half. You smell. People are coming to see you. The preacher's coming next week. You're upsetting me, baby. Well, maybe you should take a shower. Did that help anything? You think she took her shower?
No.
Do you think she wanted me to help her take a shower?
No. You're her baby boy.
Baby, I used to bathe you. You're not bathing me. You're not, so you're withered enough to understand that I'm your baby boy, but you're not withered enough to take a shower. Get your butt in there, take a shower. It doesn't work. I'm here to tell you that does not work.
What did work?
A woman.
It
Get a woman.
was time to get a caregiver. It was time to get somebody to come into the house
Yeah.
to look after my mother to do that. And I interviewed them, my sister and I. It wasn't just a matter of, okay, they sent somebody over, have at her. It was a matter of talking to them to find out, number one, are they compassionate? Because not everybody's a caregiver for everything that's out there. But finally, somebody came in that was able to talk with my mother on that level she was good with. And guess what? She would have a sponge bath every once in a while, and once a week, she'd have a real bath.
She's good with that now.
Oh, she's very good with that now. She's with my Lord. So she's good with that. She doesn't smell anymore.
Daryl, the way I've been handling, my husband has sort of moved into that phase
Mhm,
where he was Mr. Fastidious,
mhm,
okay? And, you know, even during the first fracture in August, when he was cutting down, he would fight me to get in the shower, he'd do it himself. Well, now he's not doing it. He's not even doing the sponge bath. He's not doing the shower. So right now what's working is he gets undressed at night and puts his clothes in a chair by the bed.
mhm.
So before he gets up, I take those clothes on Tuesday and Saturday
Mhm.
and put new clothes there, fresh
Yep.
clothes. And then when he comes in his jammies and watches television for a little while in the morning. And then I'll say, after he's wide awake and had his first cup of coffee, and he says, well, I think I'm gonna go get dressed. I said, well, I put all your clothes in the dirty laundry and you got clean clothes. So how about you taking a shower before you put your clean clothes? Oh, that's a good idea.
Oh,
Wait.
wow, really?
So that's what's working right now.
Excellent. So, and I was sharing with somebody not too long ago, this is what we do when we're caregiving. Well, that didn't work. That didn't work. That didn't work. That worked.
So hope it works for a little longer.
And then you'll have to change to something else. But it's a matter of trying what's going to work. And when you find that, work with it. A lot of times when people go into that the first time, it's a matter of trying things such as having the lights low, having the water already poured, or having the water, if they'd like a shower still, make sure the shower is turned on at a temperature that's comfortable for them. Instead of having the shower head, if we're talking showers, that's fastened to the wall, because a lot of people with dementia, I tasted ink when I did that on my tongue, sorry. They don't want water in their face or on their head. So get one of those extended heads, it's on a hose, and suggest or start off with their feet and suggest what it is you're going to clean next. Okay, we're gonna go up to your knees. Remember when we were outside? They don't, but we wanna make sure your knees are clean, because a lot of times when we were kids, mom and dad always say, clean your knees and your elbows, and then come on up. And you just, okay, now we're gonna get under the arms, because, ooh, mom, sometimes, ooh, come on now. You know, make a joke out of it if they're still understanding humor. And then here's the thing that we forget. We still are in our mindset of having one set of towels. Okay, you're done, dry off. A lot of times people will get modest. Have 3 or 4 sets of towels. Have them just come out of the dryer where they're nice and warm. So they can cover up here while you're cleaning down here, or vice versa. If it gets wet, don't be, it doesn't matter. Throw it on the floor. And then we just get another towel. So have them all ready. Have some nice smelling scent in the air, some low music. Try to make it inviting. Get one of the, ooh, I shouldn't have looked into the light. Stay away from the light there. Get one of the heat lamps so it's warm in the room. Again, that worked. That didn't work. That worked. Until you
Those little
find what
cube
works.
heaters too are good.
Sir?
Those little cube heaters. The cube,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
those things are really great.
Having the cube heater in there for the shower. All those things, it's just a matter of trying. Well, something I think I was here one day and you brought up this question about, well, they don't like to get their hair wet. There's powdered shampoo or dry shampoo or whatever they call it. Use it. It works just as well.
And in between, you use baby powder.
Baby powder works. And just wipes. You know, if anybody ever went camping, you know, you hit them with the wipes. Same thing. Just because they used to take a 30-minute bath in the past does not mean it needs to be a 30-minute bath now.
Or every day.
Or every day.
That's true.
Care plans that we have are at least 3 times. We try to get a bath in for somebody, a shower, at least 3 times a week, not 7. For those of you that might have forgotten how many days are in a week, you don't have to have 7 days. Hey, what? Oh, I shouldn't say that. Sorry, honey. Oh, that's gonna be a butt kicking when I get home now. I just brought it up. But I mean, she's getting to the point. She skips a day a week. Or she just, you know, I wake up in the morning, I hear, I get up earlier because I know I can get in the shower because that's not gonna happen. She's spraying her hair. Love you, honey. Happy anniversary next week. So it's just, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The biggest thing we as caregivers can do to care for ourselves is to stop thinking the way we used to think. Guilt will stress us. Guilt can kill us. And if we allow it to put us in the hospital, if it allows us not to be at our best, then who's going to take care of our loved one? Fair enough? if you take nothing away from what we talked about today, because I understand I did a little rambling, I'm sorry. Take away what Bill said earlier. It doesn't matter.
Get a new mantra. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Exactly.
What difference does it make?
What difference does it make? What difference does it make?
Yeah.
If they're wearing, so I can put on, men are good at this because, you know, we're stubborn and strong and mule-headed or whatever wives like to call us. And we're gonna do it. I can do it on my own. And they put on a black sock and they put on a purple sock that happens to be yours, and it's a compression sock. Does it matter?
No.
No.
The feet are warm. If they don't put their shoes on in the house, does it matter?
No, no.
No.
If they go into the drawer and pull out, if your wife pulls out your underwear and puts on your underwear, does it matter?
Nope.
If they're wearing a plaid top and plaid pajama pants and they're not going to the doctor's office, or they are going to the doctor's office, does it matter?
No.
Why? Because they're dressed. The end result is they're dressed, hopefully they're clean, they're safe, they're dry, they're not soiled. The end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Care, dignity, and respect. Care is not the care we used to give our children. Come here, honey. Let me clean that ear out. It doesn't matter. Let's just get the basics clean. Fair enough. We have 45 seconds. Any questions?
I would just like to apologize for interrupting. I had my daughter just adopted a foster child, and I was watching this movie.
That is perfectly fine. That, see, can I talk about you? I'm gonna use you as an example. She took a moment for herself.
Also,
Congratulations.
Yeah, celebrate. Yeah.
We all applaud her.
Yes. You took time for yourself. You are away, you're taking a moment. You went to see the new little one. God bless you.
Yes.
So thank you for apologizing. Not necessary at all. Okay. Oh, bless your heart. I know you're okay, but you're gonna make me cry. I don't look, have you heard those people that there's some people that are ugly criers and those are the cute criers? I'm one of those ugly criers. You don't want me tearing up.
it's okay.
You passed. You get an A++. She said, you're okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
In other words, it doesn't matter. A++.
Exactly.
Anybody else want to get
Well,
extra?
what you did was illustrate everything that he said.
Yes.
You
Yes.
showed us exactly what we needed to do, is take that time out.
Lisa's Care Connection, and I say this every time, and I didn't say it today. The volunteers here, those individuals that are employed here, Lisa and her heart, Pops, everybody, you guys, everybody that's associated with this place are a blessing to somebody, to each other. Because you have a place to come to go get coffee, to go get quiche, to go get soda, to go get tea, and not feel guilty. And how many of us, the first time we came here, felt guilty? When they opened that place and you took your loved one over to St. Mary's and took the folks to the Silver Lining Club, and you said, I'm gonna go over to Lisa's and I'm gonna have me some food because somebody's over there running their mouth today. I'm talking about me, everyone else educates. I just run my mouth. But you're going over to Lisa's to do that. You took a moment for yourself. I applaud you. You came, got food, listened to somebody run their mouth. You met some new people, and you got a chance to go see something that if you were at home with him, you wouldn't have taken the time to do. If you're here, don't apologize. Applaud yourself. Yes, sir. We'll do this. in
One
person.
last thing to pray for me too.
Yes, sir.
I see myself as a caregiver at Brookdale.
You're being a blessing to those folks.
I am, and my family sees that, and other people are encouraged.
Mhm,
God put me there for a ministry.
mhm.
I love to come to this place though, because it's a respite for me.
Yes,
Even I, as a kid, I'm not the typical person being cared for.
you're a caregiver and being cared for.
Amen.
And that's what I'm illustrating today to all of you, is that Warren understands that. Not just because something, something's going on, but we don't understand that because we're caregivers and we don't allow ourselves to be cared for. He is allowing himself to be cared for. And he's caring for somebody else.
And I'm getting nourishment from here by your caregiving for me, the welcoming atmosphere. Because I tell you, it's hard to be a resident for me there, because the people don't have their brains, and I need a lot of mental stimulation.
And that I know that is a strong point for you. And you get to come here and you're being nourished from what happens here.
And I
And you're
get
nourishing
nourishment out of giving nourishment
Yep.
too.
So that's the thing. End result, A, it doesn't matter. And B, remember to care for yourselves. You got to care for yourselves. Because if you don't care for yourselves, you're not giving 100% to who you're supposed to be caring for.
And
Folks.
you have to remind yourself every once in a while.
You do. And it's okay to
You
say,
get caught up in that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So God bless you guys. I appreciate you listening to me run my mouth again this month. I'll see you next month. And I hope to see you next month anyway. You all
Thank
take
you.
care. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
See you guys. Love you.